All right, buddy, welcome back to the podcast. We're SamuraiBlitzt for another episode of our J6 series. So, for those who've been keeping along, this is going to be episode 3. We have Army veteran Mark Sahady. He's a January 6er. So, guys, please welcome Mark Sahady to the podcast. How you
What's
doing,
up,
Mark?
Mark?
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here, man.
Also, Mark is an activist. Mark, can you tell us about some of the activism you've done?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I could talk for hours on it. I began. I went to a free speech rally in Boston. It actually made international news, and they say something like 30,000 Antifa came, and the police had to evacuate us in these vehicles. And I had nothing to do with setting up the rally or anything. I was just there, and it opened my eyes. Like, wow, there's no such thing as free speech in Boston, at least. So I started contacting some of the guys from Boston Free Speech saying, hey, they shut this rally down. We can't let this be the end of it. And but because it got so much attention, a lot of people were afraid and didn't want to put their name on it. So as someone who'd never really been involved in politics, I said, something, this is important enough. I'll put my name on it. And we needed a name. So I don't know if you remember Base Stickman at all.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So he had an organization he called Resist Marxism, and we thought that's a great name because we thought that the Marxists were the ones that were violating our rights to free speech. So we called him up and we said, hey, and he was actually at that rally in Boston too. We said, would you like to come back to Boston and can we use your name, Resist Marxism? He said, that's a great idea. I'll come and I'll speak at the rally and we'll do it again. And so we did it again, and this time they weren't able to shut the rally down. So the police in Boston, under the direction of the mayor, still made it a hassle. And then after that rally, everyone's like, this is awesome. We have so much fun doing it. So we kept doing it. And then a couple of years later, it started to wind down. And this is when it kind of exploded. I met my friend John Hugo, who was running for Congress at the time as a Republican in Massachusetts in the 6th District. He was actually running against Representative Clark, who is the number 2 Democrat in the House now. And I started telling him, I have this great idea about a straight pride parade. It would be really funny. We could
I remember that.
That would be fucking cool.
I remember
that was international news too.
Yeah,
So we had all these things like we're going to have our own flag, and we're going to demand that LGBTQ become LGBTQS because we want to include straights in it. And then
Imagine how fucking pissed they'll be on that.
Oh, they were really angry. I ended up posting on Twitter at that point. We're going to have this straight pride parade in Boston, and we've applied for a permit. And a New York Times journalist saw my tweet somehow. I don't know how. And so she reposted it and, was saying, this is horrible. These people are going to do this. And that exploded all over the place and became like number 1 on Twitter, straight pride parade. And then Milo, he heard about it.
Milo, like or whatever.
Yeah.
D Milo.
He was gay at that time still, but so we were like, hey, you want to be the Grand Marshal? And he said, yeah, I love it. And we had this Trump Ridge, and we basically it inflamed the left. We triggered them really bad, and we had a Trump Ridge and a straight pride parade come through liberal Boston. I don't know if you know much about Boston. It's really far left.
Oh yeah, I know. You got Elizabeth Warren. I mean, we know.
And
hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? A fake native.
Pocahontas. Yeah. Pocahontas or whatever they call her.
You flamed the flamers, huh?
Oh, they were so mad. Some colleges had to shut down. There were 36 arrests, none of on our side, all Antifa.
Oh, wow.
They tried to block the parade in the road, and the police actually cooperated with us at that point. They dragging them out of the road. They said they were going to kill us. And it was pretty crazy. And then because of so many arrests, the story kept going after that for months because they were being dragged through the courts. And the DA, the communist DA in Massachusetts, she wanted to drop the charges, but one of the judges said no. They were fighting with cops. So it went on for months, and that was kind of my claim to fame at that point.
Damn.
And
well, there's nothing like fighting. There's nothing like fighting fascism with fascism, right? The anti-fascists. Oh my God, they're
exactly.
They're the
Is Antifa still big in Boston?
I'm sure.
Not
Right?
really. No, nothing's big in Boston right now, and a lot of it has to do with January 6th. I think part of that was to intimidate people from coming out. So, I mean, Representative Clark's kid, it's a tranny. I don't remember if it's girl to boy or boy to girl, but uh, her kid has been arrested a couple times, protesting things. But the activism scene here isn't what it used to be.
So Republicans have like no chance in Massachusetts, huh?
Not really. There's like maybe a couple in the state house, and Trump actually did better than any Republican nominee here in a long time, but no chance of winning the state
Oh,
back.
for sure, yeah.
Damn it, dude. That's crazy. Yeah, man, that's pretty wild. That I remember the straight pride parade thing. I remember they were like disgusted by it. It was almost as bad as like saying all lives matter. It was so like
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that triggered
my
a
God.
bunch of people on the
how dare
BLM.
you? How dare you care about other people's lives?
What year was this?
They would.
That was
we were-
2019.
Mm,
And the reason why I was at January 6th in DC was because Super Happy Fun America kept doing things, and we organized. I didn't do the organization. The person who ended up, Sue, who ended up being my coworker, did most of the bus organizing. But we went down to that first rally in November in DC, and there was so much interest when Trump announced another one in December after the Democrats had stolen the election. We got two buses down. And after that one, when he announced January 6th, I mean, there was so much interest up here. We ended up getting 6 buses of our own. And then we had 5 associated buses of other groups that were like, hey, we'll do a bus too. So Super Happy Fun America and Vietnamese Patriots and Chinese Patriots, those were the 2 other groups we were working with. We had 11 buses down in DC on January 6th for about 500 something people. And that's one of the reasons why I think I was targeted a lot by the feds was because of my prior activism, and then just having so many people down. They tried to spin it as some kind of conspiracy or something, but it was mostly, I'd say, the average age on the bus was probably 60s. I mean,
those damn Asian white supremacists. God damn.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, you can't escape it. It's just embedded in everything. Yeah, man. Did a lot of people on those buses also get charged?
So there was one person that was arrested that day, and I mean, anyone could have bought a ticket on these buses, so I had no idea who most of these people were. And the bus ended up waiting for him for like an hour, and then finally someone lied to us and said, "Oh, he told me he's getting a ride back from his cousin or something." So the bus driver said, "We got to go." So that guy didn't make the bus trip back. Everyone else did. And then Sue and I were arrested a couple weeks later, and then Cindy, who was on the bus. We didn't know her at the time, but she was arrested a few years later.
Oh wow!
Were y'all raided, or they came to y'all's door? I mean, how did that go down?
Oh, it's awful. Like you get a big bang on the door, 6:30 in the morning or whatever. Bang, 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 bang. FBI open up, and I'm like throwing them my clothes or whatever. And I run to the door, and they were already in my house. They have like a skeleton key or something, so they got the busted through the door. And I think one of the reasons why it wasn't so much militarized in my case was I was one of the first arrested, so they hadn't really ramped up what you'd seen later.
Gotcha.
But I had like probably 10 or 11, 12 police officers in my home, FBI, local police, state police, whatever they were. Some of them I don't know what agency they were from. And then they took me to the station, and the FBI agent throws a paper in front of me. He says, "Sign this, and we're going to talk." And I said, "I'm not going to talk without my lawyer." And he said, "Well, when you get to court, the judge is not going to look favorably on you." They ended up bringing me to Boston, and then that's where they brought Sue, who she was also part of Super Happy Fun America. And I guess the plan was to bring us both to Boston, but then they got a call while they were about to bring me in the courthouse, and they said, "No, you're going to Rhode Island." This is all new to me. I had never been like arrested and all this stuff before, so they bring me down to Rhode Island, and they said, "Oh, you're going to be here for a few days." They put me in front of a judge remotely, and the government, the DOJ moved to hold me. And so the judge said, "All right, we'll set a hearing for, 2 days later." So I ended up staying in the Rhode Island prison for 3 days. And during that time, the reason why they wanted to keep me was so they could raid my house, which they did. And then a couple of days later, the government dropped their opposition to my release, so they released me.
So what went on in your head, bro, when you first see them? Are you like, you know why it's going down, or you're like, what the hell's going on? Or I would have been like, oh shit, I'm in
Yeah.
my
Erase my history, my data history, my browser history.
erase all the porn, babe, please.
Start throwing phones in the microwave.
But well, what happened was we sort of knew it was coming because there had been a few other arrests before that, and when we got on the buses back from DC, like it didn't seem like a big deal. I don't know, as crazy as it sounds, but then people started sending us news reports. Oh, they're calling you terrorists and all this stuff, and there ended up being a picture of Sue and I in the Capitol that people were sending around, and then all the Antifa idiots started saying, "Oh, these are the two people from Boston. We hate them. They've caused all this trouble with their straight pride parade."
You had a target.
People were reporting us, and not that they needed their reports. And then so we kind of knew it was coming, but it was surprised how it happened. Like you don't think that's going to happen.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was going to say I do have a question because you're not white, right?
I don't really know what race I am.
Okay.
I'm Syrian and I'm French and I'm English.
Okay.
So whatever you want to call me, I don't care. Yeah.
No. I was just wondering because how did they smear you as a white supremacist, and how did they do that? Because I know Tim Hale, as you saw, they tried to smear him even though he's Puerto Rican, and I was wondering how did the media smear you? What did they say, and how did they twist that up?
So because I've been had notoriety in Boston for a few years. I've been called all sorts of things. They say I'm a white supremacist. I'm a Nazi. I'm a hate monger. All the usual crap, and none of it's true, obviously. And they'll never point to a single statement of anything I've ever said to that effect. They just tag you as that, and then the scumbags and even the mainstream media, they'll say, well, experts say they have ties to white supremacy, and it doesn't matter. Even the Straight Pride Parade. We had 5 black women speak, and they were all called white supremacists. So one of them was Barbara from Harlem. Unfortunately, she passed away recently, but she was very conservative black woman from New York. And so they called her a white supremacist. They actually said the Straight Pride Parade was, white supremacy adjacent. And we were just kind of laughing because, well, why are these 5 black women speaking at white supremacist event? But before that, every event I've ever done, people make wild claims like the KKK is going to show up. It's like, this is Boston. Where do you think the KKK is?
Right.
Yeah. So, and then once in a while, it's usually fake. They would have someone run in our event and throw up a big swastika, and we're like, we don't know who this guy is, And one time, the police actually said, "No, these people with the swastika have to stand with you." And we're like, we don't want them here. And the police said in Boston, no, they have to stand with you, because they knew that we were peaceful. Though we're not going to head anything. And if they went on the Antifa side, they'd probably be killed. So being peaceful works against you sometimes.
That's a good photo op for them.
That's all it is. They come up and they put their flag and then they go home. the news media comes around, click, 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 click.
Yeah, they get what they want and they fucking take off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So like even when we were watching Tim and Cash, what was your experience as far as the energy when you got to January 6th? Like when you got to the actual Capitol, like before everything started, what was the energy like there? Was this like something that you thought was going to happen, or was it just like another peaceful day, everyone having a good time?
We had actually been to the 2 prior rallies, like I said. So on those 2 rallies, it was very peaceful. People were walking all over the Capitol grounds. So all we had was our past experience. And when we got off the buses in Union Station, we start walking to the ellipse where Trump was going to speak. And all over the rumors were like, well, you're not going to get into the secured area. It's already full. And then people were handing out flyers saying there's going to be rallies afterwards at the Capitol. So everyone thought there was going to be rallies at the Capitol. And I believe they even had permits for rallies, which are not allowed to be entered into your trial, which I found out later when I went to trial. You're not allowed to say, I thought I was going to a permitted rally. So we got to the ellipse where Trump was speaking, and it was very cold that day. And so a lot of us were like, we had 500 people down there, but I was probably hanging out with 15 people that I really knew well. And everyone was like, it's cold here. Let's go find a restaurant so we can use a bathroom and eat something, because we just want to get out of the cold. And nothing was open that day. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but no restaurants were open. So the crowd's walking to the Capitol, and we're like, all right, well, let's just go to the rally at the Capitol because there's nothing to eat and the buses aren't leaving till 4 p.m. So we just followed the crowds down to the Capitol, and I actually was split up from the people I was with. I have a Chinese friend whose mother is elderly, and she was on a walker. So I stayed behind with her while the other people I knew went ahead. And there's a picture of me carrying a sign saying, stop the Chinese Communist Party, because her mother gave me that sign to hold because she was on a walker and she couldn't hold her sign. So then we got to the, I think it's called the Peace Statue, which is near the Capitol. And I somehow met up with like Sue, Glenn, a bunch of other people I was there with. And then I left my friend Diana and her mother behind, and we started walking up the steps to the Capitol. And everyone's just standing around, having a good time. It was pretty peaceful. And then all of a sudden you hear like, boom, boom, boom. And there was like tear gas going off. I think I was hit with a couple of like pepper balls or something.
Oh,
and it just was chaotic. And I don't know why they, when you're there were so many people. They say 1 million people. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people there, but you can't see what's going on in front of you. So we're all just in the back, and it's like, boo, these things are coming at you. And then I don't know if they were trying to cause a stampede, but if everyone just turned around and ran, people would have been trampled.
without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of felt to everyone around us like, we have a right to be here. There's supposed to be a rally here. It's a permanent rally. We're staying. We're holding our ground. So people weren't leaving at all, and that it just became so chaotic. And at one point, people will tell you that all these police officers were tear gas. Who did that? They did it to themselves because we saw them up on one of the higher levels. And why are they shooting tear gas into a headwind? Like, you have to be an idiot. It's going to come back at you. And that's what happened. And so everyone was kind of like laughing, like, why did they just spray themselves? And then at that point, it sort of cleared up, and we just started walking up the stairs. And we got up to the terrace, and I mean, it was like a whole bunch of people. There was all these cases of water. I don't know who put the water there, but everyone's drinking water. And then there were like a group of cops walking by, and people are thanking them and giving them fist bumps. And then there were some people climbing up a wall, and we were all yelling, like, take the stairs, take the stairs. I don't know why they were climbing the wall because the stairs were wide open. And at that point, and I had actually never talked about this before because of my trial. I couldn't say anything because anything you say can and will be used against you. But now that it's over, I can talk about it. So there were I was with 3 or 4 people that I knew, and like there were so many people, we just got separated, and Sue and I ended up standing together, and we were near one of the main doors that people went in on the west side. And there was like one guy in the window, I remember, and he was trying to tell the cops, like, calm down, like, we're not here to hurt you. And he was trying to tell the people, he was yelling at all the people, hey, don't break the doors, don't join the doors. And there was all this tear gas coming out one at that door. Yeah, that's the main door you see people walk into later that got into the rotunda. So Sue and I looked at each other and we were like, yeah, let's just leave. Like, this is kind of chaotic here. And we start walking back to go find our other friends. And this is where curiosity will get you. So
I would have went in too, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone would have won. I would have went in too.
Like, well, what's going on? I want to witness
history. So there's this door. It's called the Senate Parliamentarians door, and it's also a fire exit. And we were walking by that, and there was just people walking into the door, calmly. Nobody's running into the building or anything. So we're like, yeah, let's go in. I hadn't been to the Capitol since I was a kid. I want to see what this place looks like. And so we walked into the door, and we get into the door, and eventually there's like, there's some people, opening some of the side doors, and a bunch of us yelling, like, don't do that. Don't break anything. This is a very sacred building to the United States. And most people were just mulling around. And then a line of cops formed, and they weren't saying anything. They should have given us direction. We were like, why aren't they saying anything? And at one point I went up to them, and this is also where you get in trouble because I just talked to them. I just remember saying, like, what do you want us to do here? And there were so many people streaming into the building that you can't just turn around and go out. How are you going to push through a mob of people? So people just saying, "Hey, can we just walk through?" And then one of the police officers, I remember she was like a smaller woman. She gets out her baton, and her sergeant or whatever grabs her and pulls her off the line. Like because he didn't want her to beat anyone. And then maybe a couple minutes later, the cops just parted. So we just walk around the corner, and then there's another set of police officers, and they're saying, what do you want us to do? People were asking, and then one of the cops said to me, "Just leave now, and nothing will happen to you." And one of the videos I saw of myself from the Capitol surveillance was I give him the thumbs up. You can see me giving the thumbs up. But nobody actually knew how we leave the building. And just remember, people, that I didn't know the layout of this building.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the exits were, whatever. So some people were going up towards the Senate chamber and ended up walking by that cop, which the government later claimed that I pushed my way past the police line. But no, I was trying to figure out how to get in. Oh, another cop came running like, "No, everyone leave this way." So a group of us just turned around and we left the building, and we get out of the building, and there's throngs of people all around. At this point, we're at the north side. And so what do you do when people are cheering you? You go like this, like, yeah, don't do that. That'll get you extra prison time. Going like this.
Damn.
And we get a call from someone who was helping us manage the buses. You guys got to get back to the Union Station right now. The mayor said she's going to close the city, and the bus driver's saying we got to get out or nobody's going to be able to leave. So we're running back down to Union Station, and we're trying to, anyone we saw that we possibly could have been on a bus, "Hey, we got to get back to the buses." We got back there, and people were late coming back. And like I said, that one guy got arrested. We had no idea what happened to him. So the bus that was supposed to leave at 4 ended up not leaving until maybe around 5. We all just get on the bus. The bus driver finally says we can't wait for him any longer. We're going to leave. And we leave. And that's when I said, we didn't think too much of it. And we were talking about it. And then all of a sudden the news reports come out like terrorists tried to commit an insurrection. And people are sending us photos from the news media of us there. And that's when we started saying, "Oh man, what's going to happen?"
So did you get I don't know if I missed it, but did you get turned in by somebody, or they just kind of knew who you? Oh, they knew who you were because of the straight thing, right? The straight parade.
I had not been able to see my discovery for years, which is very disappointing. It turns out in my discovery, the FBI was tracking this whole thing. They knew about our buses. They knew who we were.
Oh wow!
They had a woman who pretended to be my friend who was reporting on me and giving my text messages to the FBI for probably over a year. I don't know exactly how far it goes back.
So they're pretty much spying on you.
They were spying on us. They knew all about these buses. And at one point, the FBI it got leaked. The FBI was considering charging 500 people that were on these buses as some kind of conspiracy. As I said, most of them were elderly Asian women. So,
well, yeah. They locked up like grannies too, man. I mean, it's crazy, the amount of people. When did you find out you got pardoned, and what was the first feeling? What's the first thing you did after that?
So I believe that Trump was going to pardon us all along, and I got convicted at trial on 4 misdemeanors in August. At that point, yeah, I'm worried. I'm going to be going to prison, and then my sentencing wasn't until November 20th, so it was actually after the election. So during the sentencing, I didn't care anything about the sentencing. It was remote, and the judges, you shouldn't have done that, and you're a very bad person. I wasn't even listening. I was thinking, I almost wanted to say, Trump's going to pardon me. It doesn't matter what you do here. So I thought I was going to get pardoned all along. So after the election, I wasn't even worried about it. And then I was surprised how quickly Trump did it. So we were at this party when it came out, and all of a sudden we're like, Trump's pardoned everyone, and they're all getting out of prison. So we called a couple of other J6ers that we knew, because we were going to try to greet these guys coming out of prison. And we were at these Chinese patriots that we know gave Sue a whole bunch of money for these guys. And we ended up using it for them. We're going to use it, give it to someone else, because we waited till around midnight, and then a bunch of us had to go home. So, but there were other people there greeting the guys coming out of prison in Massachusetts.
So I did want to ask, because you were saying, we talked for a second earlier, you're saying they went through all your text messages and all that, right? Is that correct?
They this is very interesting how the government works. I did not think this was even possible. So I deleted my Signal application after January 6th. They tried to get me for evidence tampering, but that didn't work. But this woman who I told you that was reporting on me the whole time, I had no idea where these text messages were coming from that they were showing me in my reverse proffer. The government's like, we got you saying this and that. It turned out it was all from her. But with the Signal app, it turned out that the government couldn't download. She gave her phone over voluntarily. I mean, I don't know who does that, but they couldn't download the Signal app from her phone. So the FBI ended up just taking pictures of it. So my lawyer was arguing, she's got to come in and testify like that these are from my client because they weren't from my phone. They were from her phone. And the judge ruled that she doesn't have to testify. She'll just believe the government that they're from me. So my lawyer said, well, why do we even have witnesses at trial then if you're just going to believe what the police say? You know, she never having to come to DC and confront me at court that she had turned all these messages over.
Was she on the bus with you?
No, she was someone that I thought was my friend, but never make friends with a Democrat. Good, she was a Democrat.
Yeah, that's good advice right there.
Man, what you said they only highlighted 10 of your messages?
So, like we were talking, you know how you're joking around in text, like everything you say is not true. So she was texting me before January 6th, you better cancel those buses. The police aren't going to let you in to DC. So one of my messages was, well, then we'll get out of the bus and we'll fight our way in. So I'm at my trial. What comes up on the screen, you know, we'll get out and we'll fight our way in. Oh. And they don't show you the context around it. Just different things like that. Like I had made fun of one of the congressmen who I thought was like hiding under a bench. And it's like, I just made a joke about that. That comes up. So they use all these messages to kind of just paint me as an extremist and someone that came there to do violence or whatever.
I'm just impressed they only got 10 out of you, bro. Because if they were to go through my phone, I'd be fucked.
Oh yeah, dude. They'll be like, these guys are evil criminals, man.
They'd be like, this guy is a piece of shit. God damn it.
This guy's a piece of work right here.
That's all they're doing. Like, I mean, they're gonna convict me on jokes. You know, I made a joke. One of them I made was, I'm gonna come and use the people's bathroom. That comes up on the screen in trial. Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. You're a better man than me, bro. Because if they went through our group chats, it's terrible.
Oh yeah,
they probably give me life. Like, dude, this dude's a scumbag. Get him out of here.
They'll put every episode of our podcast and look what they're saying. Look at this. These are disgusting people.
If you ever get charged with a crime by the federal government, they will go through every single thing you've ever done, any text message you said, anything you've ever said publicly, and that'll come up and used against you. And it won't matter that you were joking or that it's out of context or that you were just angry. You know, you said something in anger. It won't matter.
Yeah, that's wild to me, man, because like they only highlighted 10 years. They would probably only have 10 out for me. It would just be all highlighted. Look at this piece of shit. It just keeps going. We have a plethora of we have a whole case of his files, and it's terrible. It gets worse and worse.
Don't get charged by the DOJ then.
I need to stay away from the White House. That is, I mean, from the Capitol. That's insane, man, that they did that to you. So that feeling, you just feel relief. You have that. You're just good now.
Yeah. For 4 years, I had no idea what was going to happen, and it was like a roller coaster. One thing I decided early on, and it's actually usually a bad mistake. So 90% of all federal cases end in plea deals in general. And out of that, the government the federal government has a 98% conviction rate. And then you're not even talking January 6th in DC where the juries are biased and the judges are biased. So the smart thing, every lawyer said the smart thing was to plea, but for some reason I'm very stubborn. So I decided early on, I'm going to trial. And part of it was my curiosity always gets the worst of me. Like the curiosity of walking in the building, the curiosity of what's it like to be on trial. So I was like, I'm on trial. And then the first lawyer I had, unbeknownst to me, all he was doing was working on a plea deal. And I sat in his office and he said to me, all right, here's a plea deal. Let's get ready to sign this. And I said, wait a minute. I don't want to sign a plea deal. and he got very angry at me, so he threw me out of his office. Later, he apologized, but at that point, I had lost trust in him. So I hired another lawyer. And then what happens with a lawyer is when you talk to the lawyer on the conference before you pay them, everything's great. I love going to trial. It's what I do. Pay them the money. All of a sudden, we got to really sign this plea deal. And I said, I just paid you all this money again. If I want to sign a plea deal, I just would have stuck with my first lawyer. And he ended up being right about some things. He told me, hey, Mark, if you don't sign the plea deal, the government's going to charge you with more crimes. So the first thing they did was my trial was to be in 2023 of April. And this is why my case took so long. So April comes around and the government charges me with another misdemeanor because I only had 3 at the beginning. So they charged me with the 4th. So I had the 4 standard misdemeanors they charge everyone with. The trial gets moved to May. My lawyer tells me, you better sign this plea deal now. You know, the government really wants you. I was like, nah, it's just misdemeanors. May comes along and the government charges me with a felony. So they charge me with obstruction of official proceeding, which, if you heard about that, so I was facing a maximum of a year before I got charged with that, and now I'm facing a maximum of 20 years.
God.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, I actually heard that from Tim. He told me the exact same thing, and then they reversed that, right? The felony.
I thought all along the Supreme Court would, and the Supreme Court did the right thing and threw that felony out because it was actually from Enron. So,
yeah, that's what I heard. He told me that whole story, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's crazy!"
On a false felony.
Wow. So, but you were looking at a year before with just the plea deal, right?
The plea deal, I don't know how long it would have got. Maximum would have been a year. I could have got a week. I could have got 2 months. I don't know. What you don't the plea. The DOJ in January 6 cases would not tell the defendants what they were going to recommend. So, but yeah, like bullshit. I said, I thought, okay, it's a maximum a year. I'm probably not going to get a year. Then I get charged with this felony with a maximum of 20 years. I don't think I would have got 20 years, but like Tim got, 3 or 4 years on that felony. So I'm like, how do you go from a year and then you don't sign a plea deal to multiple years? And the government lied in court, and they said they had more evidence against me. And unfortunately, the judge never asked them, what evidence is this? They had no new evidence against me. They just charged me in retaliation for not signing a plea deal. So then the judge sets my trial to August, and August rolls around, and I remember that woman I talked about. So I asked my lawyer, what are we going to do to challenge the signal chats? And he told me, you're just going to get the judge mad if you say they're not yours. I was like, I'm going to get the judge mad. Like, my life is in trial here. Yeah. We got to do everything we can. So I lost confidence in him. So I fired him, and I told the judge, if you don't give me time to find another lawyer. I had a lawyer friend that told me to do this. He said, if you want to, get time to find a lawyer, tell the judge you're going to just represent yourself then. The judges don't want you to represent yourself. So he says, all right, I'll give you till November to find a lawyer. November comes around. I had found a lawyer. I found 2 really good lawyers. And the judge set the trial for February of last year. February comes around, and the judge said that he had sometimes they schedule multiple cases at the same time in case of something happens with one of them. So the judge said, there's a guy on trial for kidnapping, and his trial is more important than yours. And my lawyer argued, we need to delay this trial till after June because the Supreme Court hadn't ruled yet on the 1512 felony. So my lawyer said successfully, like, why, you don't want to have my client in a trial when the Supreme Court might throw out the charge. So the judge actually agreed. He set my trial for last August. August came around. I'm ready to go to trial. I go to trial, and the judge had ruled there was some conflicting on 2 of the misdemeanors that you had to know Mike Pence was in the building. One thing I did, they give you stipulations before trial, and sometimes you sign them just so that the government, you say, yeah, I'm not going to make the government prove everything. If I had to do it over, I would make the government prove everything, because it turns out these stipulations are used against you. So I signed one saying that I heard Trump speak. That was used against me. The government argued, well, he admits that he heard Trump speak. And I actually didn't hear most of the words he said because I was in the back of the ellipse and there were so many people and it was loud and I was far away from where he was speaking. I didn't hear most of the words he said. But the government claimed that I heard Trump talk about Mike Pence, so I knew Mike Pence was in the building. Oh. The judge believed that. And then the judge said that he convicted me on that. He said I had followed along the process the whole time, so I would have known that Mike Pence was in the building. And then I had one tweet to Mike Pence and like 100 other people who weren't in the building saying, do the right thing. And the government convinced the judge that meant that I knew Mike Pence was going to be there. So I got convicted on all 4 misdemeanors, and that woman never had to show up to testify. They just accept all the text messages from Signal without her saying they were from me. I thought it was a very unfair process. I thought, on 2 of the the Class B misdemeanors, fine. That's disorderly conduct. All right. You want to say going like this is disorderly. What am I going to do?
That's pretty wild, man, because usually I know I've been in the system here and there too, and I know a lot of even in regular court, it ends in plea deals. I mean, they try to plea you out right away. It's a very common thing, but usually if somebody testifies against you, they got to be in court. Like I've never heard like they don't have to be in court. Like that's why a lot of people don't testify because they're afraid and stuff like that. Like that's the main reason. So that's crazy that they do that. And this was all in DC, right? This was everything.
Yeah. You're going into the swamp. And I went for a bench trial because if you've followed the trials, people have had jurors sit on multiple trials because there's so many trials going on. So there's actually jurors that sit on one January 6th trial, and they've even jurors come out. One woman I know said the juror gave her the finger after
wow.
So my lawyer said go with the bench trial, and I listened to him. I said, all right, we'll go with the bench trial.
Yeah, I would have gave up after that. If I saw somebody flick me out, I'd be like, "Fuck it, dude."
Yeah, they're using repeat jurors. What the fuck?
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's crazy. I guess, yeah.
A juror could sit on multiple January 6th cases, and some judges ruled that was acceptable.
I had heard.
Oh my god.
Tim did tell me
these people want to be on the cases because they hate conservatives. They want to convict you. It's DC.
I was gonna say, Tim told me that one of the people on the juries was like somebody to Chuck Schumer or something, like an assistant or something. I was like, this is ridiculous, bro. That's
not corrupt. What the fuck is? What the hell?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the videos of people being released and like hugging their family members and all that. It makes you think like, damn, these people just got shafted so bad, man. And it's good to see them free. I just want to know, like, I do have a question. Has all this kind of trouble and trials done anything to your health? Have you had any health issues from this, from the stress and everything else?
I don't know if I have, but it's been very stressful, especially when I got charged with the felony. It's like, I was ready to do a couple months, but I was like, now I'm going to go away for years because I didn't sign a plea deal. So that was very stressful. Having the government basically destroy your house. Yeah, that was stressful. And then, I've been under supervision for 4 years. So if I can't leave the state without calling them, they took my passport. I got fired from my job.
Oh,
I could tell you what happened to me from the Army if you want.
That would be like a mental roller coaster, man. Wow.
Yeah, I would think that put a lot on your health, man, because that would put I mean, facing 20 years, yeah, man, that's tough. That's a stint right there. I mean, Jesus Christ.
So what happened with the Army was in November of 2020, I had been in the what's called the RRR, Individual Ready Reserve, which I never resigned my commission as an officer. So I was just in the RRR, and around October, November of 2020, they do this thing, they call it muster duty. And you're told if you're in the IR, you got to come into a retention center because they're trying to convince you to go back in the reserves. So I was like, at that point, I thought, okay, I'm kind of bored with life or whatever. I'll go back in the reserves. So I signed the paperwork, but I didn't hear back from them, and I didn't know that they actually accepted me coming back in. So after January 6th, I get a call from the unit commander, like, you're in my unit and you haven't been showing up to drill. I said, I didn't know I was supposed to come to drill. No one ever contacted me. And then January comes around and she calls me and says, you are banned from all federal facilities. If you step on base, you are going to be arrested. Okay, whatever. Like, that's fine. Then I got a letter next. My security clearance has been suspended. All right, I don't need a security clearance, Then I got another letter. You are like, I could share it with you. I forget the verbiage. It's been so long since I looked at it. You are labeled as a domestic enemy of the United States.
Oh, fuck.
As a member of the Army, that we are going to put you through a board, and they were going to give me possibly an other than honorable discharge. I think you get that, your life is pretty much over as far as getting a job.
Mm-hmm. Good luck getting a job with that. Yeah.
I called the Jaguar up, and the Jaguar, he's like, don't worry about it. You haven't been convicted of anything. It's misdemeanors. Come on, they're not going to do this. And he calls me back, weeks later, whatever. Hey, they really want to get you, So then he started investigating my status in the Army, and he calls up the unit and he says, just want to confirm that my client is in the reserves. The unit, either someone in that unit did me a favor and threw out the paperwork, or they screwed up the paperwork, whatever, but they could never produce his paperwork. So for years, he kept on saying, I get a letter, you need to show up to Mississippi for a discharge board, get an other than honorable discharge. And my lawyer would say, prove he's in the Army Reserve. They couldn't prove it. So
oh, nice.
That went on for years. And then one day he called me up, the lawyer, and said, hey, you didn't get promoted. So that's actually a good thing, because you didn't get promoted. The next day they had to give you an honorable discharge. So he's like, and I called the command up, and they were like, what? They were really angry that I got an honorable discharge, but they just could never produce this paperwork.
So are you available? Are you able to get a retirement? Because how long did you do? You said 20 years.
I entered in, so no, I'm not able to get retirement. So I was on their books for 18 years, but I was on all three different status. I was active duty, I was reserve duty, and I was in the IRR. And you don't get points if you're in the IRR. All you're on the books, but you don't go to drills or anything. So many of those years I was in the IRR. So I don't know how many good years I have, but out of 18, let's say it's 12 or 13, you have to get 20 good years to get a retirement.
But you can still get disability and all that?
I'm not on disability, but I do have my VA benefits, and I use them for my medical. So yeah, I got an honorable discharge, so nothing goes away. But they could have taken that away. Yeah.
Dude, that's terrible, bro. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with.
That's a lot of stress right there, man, especially on the mind. Fuck.
It's been a roller coaster.
Hell yeah, my blood pressure be through the fucking. My blood pressure's through the roof now, and
I would have became an alcoholic and just went all berserk crazy.
I would have been in San Francisco on those streets with those bums, just fucking. I'm fuck everything. Let them find me.
I'm done.
I kind of had hope the whole time. So when I got charged with that felony, if I thought I could was probably going to get convicted on that, I probably would have gone insane. But in my mind, I thought, the Supreme Court's going to throw this out, and they did. And then, as I said, even after I got convicted and Trump won the election, I was like, during the sentencing hearing, I didn't care whatever the judge said.
Oh yeah,
yeah, whatever, dude. I'm getting a pardon.
So how much time did you actually do in jail, by the way?
Just the 3 days of the initial arrest. I've been sentenced to 5 months in prison, but because of the pardon, I won't have to do it.
Oh, okay. So you got 3 days. So you got. That's what you're saying, right? You got really lucky on that.
Yes,
I shouldn't call it lucky, but I mean, you didn't have
compared to other people. Yeah.
Other people.
Yeah. I mean, the horror stories of some of these other people. I just very thankful that I didn't have to deal with. My horror story is bad enough, but if I had to do with like Tim doing 3 years on a phony felony, I don't know what it would have been like.
Yeah, and they talked about doing 23 in one, man, doing 23 in solitary confinement by themselves. I can't imagine that, dude. That's a violation of human rights right there. And just to how that's why I started wanting to do these more, because I want people to be angry about it, man. This is bullshit. People just walking through the Capitol and they're going through all this shit, and people have killed themselves. I mean, what was it? How many suicides have happened? It was 2 or 3.
I've heard 4 or 5. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was 4 or 5. Yeah,
there's one guy, Matthew Perna. I don't know if you know his story.
I've heard. I've seen a couple, and I was like, damn, man. I mean, I can imagine that much stress going through you.
He unfortunately committed suicide, but the government basically drove him to it. So when he was arrested, he was one of the first people arrested, and he wanted to cooperate right away. He said, I walked in, I shouldn't have. I'm not saying that. That's what he said. I have no regrets about anything I did. But he wanted to cooperate right away. So he thought, he thought he was going to just get a deal and be done with it. And then they charged him with a 1512 felony. and so he thought, and he got convicted, and I guess the government told his aunt something like, "Oh, if he just waited a few more weeks, it would have gone away."
But I was gonna say that just tells you that a lot of these people have never been in trouble because, like, I've been in trouble and I know everything they say is bullshit. Like, and I'm not proud of being in trouble, but I know how it goes. I know they say you're gonna do this much time, this much time. I've been there, and you always kind of you kind of have that mindset if you've been in the system before, and you could tell a lot of these people, like a lot of people, have never been in trouble because they're just like, oh, I'm gonna do 20 years, and we all know, like, I mean, people that have been in trouble are like, you're not gonna do 20 years. Even if they gave you 20 years, you probably do 10, maybe 7, And
yes, most people don't know that, and even then, I mean, who gets 10 years for walking into a building, or even people that like one of the Proud Boys who broke, there's a lot of video of him breaking the window. He should have got like my sentence, let's say, but he got like 12 years. Who gets 12 years for breaking a window? I mean, that's insane.
He got out too. He's supposed to be. I think he was doing a Crowder today. I didn't get.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got out, and Crowder. I saw the beginning, and he said, "I'm gonna have him on." So I was like, "Okay, that's gonna be cool." But yeah, man, it's insane, especially for like you, Tim, like Eric Cash. Like, it's all misdemeanors. It's like, bro, misdemeanors are like probation. Nobody gets
You're in and out.
Nobody gets prison time for misdemeanors, bro. Like, come on.
But it's so crazy how the media. It's so crazy how the media painted it so like a whole different way, and then hearing y'all's story is like, dude, everyone had it wrong this entire time.
There's people that went to prison and got extra time on a terrorism enhancement for a misdemeanor. So disorderly conduct with a terrorism enhancement. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah,
so they were just throwing anything they wanted at this, basically.
Yes.
Like they say, bring me the man, I'll show you the crime. Like they're just throwing shit at the wall. And I really hope that some compensation comes y'all's way, man, so y'all can take care of your families and stuff, because that's shitty. Like, I mean, like I said, man, those are 4 years of your life that just stress and just like paranoia, all kinds of stuff. I mean, that come with that. It's not just like I wait for trial, like I've been there where I'm waiting for a court case, man, and it's emotionally draining. You're like, shit, I got a month, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
I know what you're saying.
No, you really know what I'm saying. I've never been in that situation like 20 years. Like shit, that's
one thing.
Keep you up at night for sure.
Definitely. One thing I wanted to mention. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I haven't told a lot of this stuff before. The DOJ is absolutely disgusting on the sentencing memorandums. So I can tell you what mine was, and some people had it way worse. But this is how silly it is. So after I got convicted and I'm going to sentencing, their sentencing memorandum said, since trial, they found new evidence. So I deserve more months in prison. And one of their new evidence was apparently I gave someone a high five. So add 2 months to prison because I gave someone a high five, that basically saying. Then they said that normally military service. So if you probably know this, when you're going, there's aggravating circumstances and mitigating circumstances. They said normally military service would be a mitigating circumstance, but in my case, I tried to overthrow the government that I had sworn to defend. So they said military service deserved more time. Then this is unbelievable. They said not having a criminal record meant I deserve more time because I should have known better because I'm not a criminal.
That just makes no sense.
The most retarded shit I've ever heard.
It's in there. It's on the record.
That's going full retard right there, bro. Like
that's full retard right there.
Yeah, like how do you
full retard?
Oh my god, that's the dumbest shit I ever heard. Because I mean, yeah, when you have in any other court system, I mean, in any other crime that somebody commits, if they don't have a prior anything, then they're gonna get less of a sentence. Like that's just the way it's always been. So that's insane that you don't. Hey, because you've been a law-abiding citizen, you piece of shit, I'm gonna give you the book.
Yeah,
that makes no sense whatsoever. Like,
we're gonna paint you with a broader brush this time. Like we want you to be a criminal now. Like,
dude, and you're not talking too much, brother, because this is your time.
Right, today's platform's on you, Mark.
Yeah, but that's insane, bro, that they did that. I mean, do you feel like anything's gonna come of it? Like, you think any compensation's coming y'all's way, or are you just probably need more time to see what's gonna come out?
I'm sort of I'm not an expert on the legal matters, so I'm kind of waiting to see what other people do. I know other people are having starting these class action lawsuits, and if I can get on board, I will. And there's some people though that it was bad for me, but there's some people that had it so much worse.
Mm.
I don't even know how they repair their lives. Like they've lost their homes, lost their life savings. If when you go to find a lawyer, you'll be surprised how expensive it is. I've had lawyers quoted me $150,000.
God.
So
Fuck.
yes, so some people did that. They were swindled into hiring lawyers for $100,000, and they put up their home. They lose their home. They lose their job, and they can't they can't afford their home, so they lose their home. Then some of them had family members turn them in, had their communities turn them in. I don't know how you repair that. And like Tim and other people who went to prison for years on bogus charges, how do you compensate them? I don't know.
Yeah, that's terrible about the damn man.
And their own government did that to them. That's the harsh part, dude. You know.
Especially so many veterans too, like people that served the country, did everything that they're supposed to do, didn't get in trouble before, and all of a sudden they just like want to just shit on you. That's terrible, man.
They'll come down hard, yeah.
Yeah, they came down hard on y'all. I full-heartedly think Biden was just a authoritarian regime, man, and they
That's why he pardoned the J6 committee. He
yeah,
pardoned all of them.
I was wondering if he was gonna do a blanket pardon, and he did, and I mean it was basically like a blanket pardon. I think it's sad. Like I had when I did interview, I had said it's gonna be. I think this thing will be like the '90s crime bill where you talked about how many families it destroyed. I think in the short future we're gonna talk about it in that way because just how many families have been crushed because of these. Like you said, man, putting up your homes, no more home. Like you don't have a house because how are you gonna get a job? Nobody wants to hire you because you're a felon. You're an insurrectionist with no gun. The first insurrection in history without fucking guns.
Right, without any weapons.
The ones that actually go between the velvet ropes. Like, are you serious? This is an insurrection, most polite insurrection I've ever seen. Any other insurrection in history, you'll see that's a real.
Yeah, because I mean, the way they showed it is like you saw all the Capitol Police like ushering people in. The only thing they were missing were just handing out like tour guides and brochures. So I'm like,
right. Yeah, those videos where people walking in the ropes.
Yeah.
So the high five thing, was that towards another another person that was walking around, or was that towards like a police officer, or what was it?
It probably was just some. I never actually got to see it. One of the other things that's very important to know is you don't actually get to see the evidence if you're a January 6er. So discovery was denied for me for 2 years. I was like, I'd like, one of the reasons I didn't want to plea, I was like, I'd like to at least see the evidence. So you want to see the evidence, that's going to cost you. Like you're going to get more time because you want to see the evidence. And then there's still evidence I hadn't seen, and the government's filed addendums to like my sentencing memorandum that were protected, and so as a defendant, I'm not allowed to see what the government filed in my sentencing. And like that woman that was reporting on me for all that time, I had no idea about that, and I didn't discover that for 2 years later because I wasn't allowed to see the evidence, even video evidence that you would think. This should be public by now. Why is that secret? Not allowed to see. I wasn't even allowed to see my own text messages, And so, and they had a recording of one guy who was a member of the media who was there with us, and I think he's a coward because when the FBI came to his house, he was like, "Oh, I'll tell you everything." So, and he was put down as a potential witness in my case, but they had all these audio recordings of him talking about the event. There was nothing really important there, but why was that secret? Why was that? Why am I allowed to see that? And so the government's they don't want you to know what they are spying on you. I think that's part of it too.
Suppression of evidence, brother. That could be means for a misdemeanor.
The lady that spied on you, did you ever confront her or ever talk to her after all this?
No, you can't. You get in trouble, man.
I would love to, but I signed a protective order.
Like that must. Oh,
yeah, that would.
I was just thinking of the anger just flowing through, man. Like I'll be so fucking pissed. Like I need to find this chick because I need to find out what the hell.
I even told people who when I told the story to who suspect that they know who she is, I was like, please,
yeah, shut the fuck up,
because they're gonna charge me with another crime, like interfering in justice or something.
Anybody that's in your like case, yeah, you can't intimidate them. You'll get another charge for sure.
Yeah, there were at least 2 people, probably 3 people in there that were informants that I didn't know about for years.
That's well, man. I know you have some things to do, so I want to respect your time and definitely get you back on here, man. It was very insightful, all the stuff. Yeah, and really enjoyed talking to you. I'm hoping more of that evidence. I think you could end on that. I think a lot more evidence is going to come out. Unfortunately, Biden pardoned all the fucking J6 committee, which is a scumbag move. And that just tells you because everything they do is in the darkness, man, and everything Trump's doing is in the light. And
That's a
that
good way of phrasing it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like that's the shittiest part about this whole situation. And they pretend to be the good people, and it's like, no, you are not the good people. But who writes the stories in the history books are the professors, and they're all woke
Yeah.
assholes.
Yep.
And they're gonna just paint it the way they want to paint it, which is unfortunate. And that's why I'm glad a lot of people are coming on podcasts and doing stuff so other people, future generations, can see this shit and see like this is what really happened. Because unless they take it all down, which I wouldn't put it past them when they get back in power. Because I mean, look at what they did this time.
I'd love to know what actually happened. And one thing I thought that was interesting in my trial was the Capitol police officer who testified. Well, one of them, there were two. One of them that testified said that the police. I was like pushing my way past the police, and my lawyer said, "Can you show me in this picture where the police officers are?" And he said, "Well, there's four of them." And my lawyer said, "I only see one of them in uniform, and that's you. Who are the other three?" And he circled them, and my lawyer said, "They're not in uniform." And he said, "Well, they were undercover." So my lawyer said, "How is my client supposed to know they're police officers? Isn't that the point of being undercover?" So there were undercover officers there that day, and I'd like to really know, what happened. Did the police try to instigate a problem when they were opening crowd control weapons on innocent people? And they had a recording of me saying, for instance, like when they started throwing the flashbangs and being in the army, I knew what those were. I said, "Hey, they're not going to hurt you. They're trying to scare us." So they use that against us. But why were they throwing flash bangs at people? Why were these pepper balls coming back at people? Who made the decision to use that tear gas? And I've seen footage of officers it looked like they're actually enjoying themselves. So I really like to know what happened.
I think a lot more is going to come out, brother, and I hope
Oh, yeah.
for y'all's sake, I hope it all comes out. I hope the best way to show whatever happens, right, is to bring it to light, and I hope that they do.
Right.
And that's gonna like vindicate a lot of people, man. That's gonna bring a lot of people to show what really happened, and hopefully in these next 4 years, man. We're only on like day 3, and I was telling somebody, I was like, it's almost like you woke up in a new America, like, oh shit.
Yeah, for sure.
It is like, oh, okay, like we could say shit again, like we could.
Yeah, I mean, Trump has done more in 3 days than Biden's done in his 50 years, brother.
I'm always talking shit, but I feel like a little more like, all right, like fuck it, let's see where it goes. It sucks that happened to you. I
appreciate it. Yeah.
I think that sucks, and I hope you get everything that's coming to you, and I mean that in a positive way. Hopefully you get compensated for your shit, for all the things that you had to go through in your family. I'm sure your wife and everybody else had to go through that with you. You know how families. You don't know. It's not only you getting locked up; it's everybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely affects everyone around you, and
and
the stress level of man,
that's what I was asking.
Roller coaster of it's up and down.
I was like, man, you don't have any health issues from that? I would.
I probably do, but
yeah. But thank you so much for telling your story, man.
Thank you for having me on.
Anything? Again, we got to get you back. Any last things you want to say, or Chris, you have a last question?
No, that was good, man. Right off the top, it was amazing. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you guys, and
I'll go
I hope you get more people on and to tell their stories. Like I said, this is the first time I really told the full thing, because people need to know that this actually happened in this country.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I fucking 100% agree with that.
Oh hell yeah.
And, yeah, man. So we'll get you back on. Maybe when some more news comes out, we could show it, show video, kind of get your take on it and stuff like that. Especially when
I'd love that. Yeah.
When some of the stuff starts getting out there. And yeah, man. Well, have a great night. Be safe where you're going. Hope everything turns out for the best for you guys.
Thank you, guys. Yep. We'll look forward to talking to you again.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Mark. Take care. Thank you, Mark. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining the podcast with us with Mark Sahady. This is one of our third series with the J6ers. So please tag along. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe, guys. There's going to be a lot of more on these series. We're going to be doing as much as we can. And to anyone who's watching this, if you are involved with the J6, if you were a witness or even know someone who was a witness, leave a comment, get with me or John, and we will love to have you guys on this podcast with the new J6 series with SamuraiBlitzt. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.